Hi guys, I'm here in beautiful Cape Cod. I am making a classic lasagna today, and I hope you stick around because I have about 4 different secrets to share with you. And it's a delicious lasagna. I spent about 3 weeks deciding if I should make this video or not because these are all of my secrets. It's everything that I've ever put in a lasagna that everybody loves. So I'm going to be teaching you the 4 secrets that I use in my lasagna to make it the best that you've ever had. So stick around. So let's get started. The first thing that I do, and this is secret number 1, I do not boil my lasagna noodles. So I put about 12 to 14 lasagna noodles in a baking dish, and then I just pour boiling water on top of it. You see that I have a kettle there going. So that has a lot of boiling water in it, and I'm just separating the sheets of lasagna pasta, and I have quite a few of them. I'm just going to pour the boiling water on them, and you go back to them once or twice. You leave them in there for 15 minutes, and once or twice you just swirl them around a little bit so that they don't get stuck. So just go over the noodles with a fork so that you make sure that they're not sticking to each other because they're flat. So sometimes they stick. So that's why I use 12 to 14, just to make sure that if something sticks, that it's okay. So this is very easy to do. It's so much easier than having a whole boiling pot of water going. And now I'm starting the sauce with about 1.5 cups of chopped yellow onions, and I'm adding 1 pound of Italian sausage and 1 pound of beef. So I just have the yellow onions working in about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, and I'm breaking up the meat, as you can see, and this is over medium to medium high heat. I choose medium high heat just because that's how my stove is, but you check and make sure on yours what would be the best temperature. You want this to cook this until it's no longer pink. So I'm just breaking it up with a wooden spoon. And this is the way that you make a classic bolognese sauce, but I don't use any milk in mine. So you'll see I have a couple of secrets for it that are going to come of how I make my bolognese sauce. And this is a classic bolognese lasagna, and I don't add mozzarella. I only add Parmesan bechamel sauce. So I'm leaving that in there until it browns, until all the pink is gone. And now the pink is gone, so I'm going to add about 3 or 4 cloves of garlic. That depends on what you would like to use. I use 4 cloves just because I love garlic. So now that it's all browned, you add the garlic so that it won't burn. That's why you add it a little after everything has been cooking already. You add the garlic, otherwise it's going to burn. It burns very easily. So I like to cook my meat in the onions and do it like that. I think that it flavors the meat a lot better than if you cook the meat first and add the onions later. So that's why I do that. And now I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of wine. I have a Chianti here. You can use any dry red wine that you would like. And this is important because there are certain flavor components in tomatoes that only get turned on, so to speak, in alcohol. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's the truth. It's if you add some wine, and that's why this is so very well done in Italian villages. They always add some wine. And now this is secret number 2. I'm adding about 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon to my sauce. And this, you won't know that it's cinnamon. You will just know that it's a different flavor in the background, and it makes the sauce deeper. It's a deeper flavor than if you didn't have any seasoning at all. And now I am also adding 1 teaspoon of dried oregano, and I crush it in my hand like that just to wake up the flavors and make sure that it's well awakened. And then I'm also adding about 1/2 teaspoon of dried thyme. If you have fresh thyme, then you take out the leaves off the stems and you use 1 teaspoon. But I'm using dried thyme today, so I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon. And these are the flavorings in my sauce. And it's delicious. Everybody, talks about how different it tastes. So it's because of the seasonings that go into it. And now I'm adding 128-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. I like crushed. A lot of people like to use plum tomatoes and then crush them themselves. I don't see the need for that extra step. I love crushed tomatoes, and this is Muir Glen, which is the best that you can buy. It's really delicious, and I actually buy the fire roasted. That's something that I really like. So the fire roasted Muir Glen tomatoes will make the sauce delicious. That's something that I try to do when I'm going through the trouble of making a lasagna, buy good ingredients. That's something that I always say. And now I'm adding salt, kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, and 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. And say that 10 times fast. That's hard to say. So I'm adding some pepper as well. And this doesn't make the sauce hot. It just seasons it. And then everything has to be very well seasoned because the noodles are not being cooked in salt. So you need to have the sauce very well seasoned in order for the final product to taste really good. So that's something that you always have to be thinking about as a cook in the back of your head. Think about what you're going to season things with, and that's what the sauce looks like when it's done. It cooks for about 40 to 45 minutes over medium heat, uncovered. So 40 to 45 minutes, that's what it looks like. And now I'm going to start on the bechamel sauce. And I have about 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter in that pan, and I'm adding 1/4 cup of flour to it, just all-purpose flour. And then you cook it over medium heat and you let it cook for a little bit just to get rid of that raw flour taste. And this is a delicious sauce. I use Parmesan in mine. You can add any combination of cheeses that you like. It's very forgiving. If you have a family that likes stronger tasting cheese, you can really go to town with this and add whatever you'd like. But this is how I do it. I just cook the flour out like that, and then I'm adding 1.5 cups of whole milk and 1 cup of heavy cream. So the heavy cream gets added like that, and you're going to stir this for about 5 to 7 minutes. You don't have to stir it the whole time. Just let it cook. You just want it to get thicker. And once it comes up to a bubble, then you will know that it's been thickened correctly. So it's been 5 to 7 minutes now. I can see it bubbling up, and that's as thick as it's going to get. And I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, which makes it really delicious. So the nutmeg and the cinnamon in the sauce really complement each other. And I'm adding about 1 teaspoon of kosher salt and about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Once again, this seasons the salt heavily, and that's very important to make sure that the lasagna has a really good taste at the end, because you're not adding any seasonings to the pasta noodles themselves because you're not boiling them. If you're boiling them in water, then you could cut back on the salt, but you don't have to. So now I'm adding about 1 cup of Parmesan cheese, and that makes it really delicious. It's really nice to make it like that and have the Parmesan cheese add all of the flavor. Like I said, you can use different kinds of cheeses if you'd like. And it's very important to leave it off the heat now. Turn off the heat, put it off to the side, and let it cool for about 10 minutes. And then you're adding about 7 ounces or 1/2 cup of sour cream. And this is secret number 3. Add the sour cream. It makes it really delicious and really rich. And it's going to cool down your sauce a little bit, because then secret number 4 is going to come, and this is going to make for a sauce that sticks together. This is secret number 4. This is 1 beaten egg that you add to your bechamel sauce, and when you cut this lasagna, it's going to stay in place. You won't have sauce running everywhere, and that's what the egg really does. It makes it set up beautifully. And then another secret that's a bonus for you, that's 1/2 cup of the cooked bolognese sauce that I made. The meat sauce goes into the bechamel sauce, and that really seasons it beautifully, and it's a great way to make the bechamel taste like the rest of the lasagna. And now I'm putting it together, and I'm speeding it up a little bit here because this takes some time. So just put a layer of bechamel sauce on the bottom, just so you have a bed on which to put your 3 noodles. And this is a 9 by 13 dish. It makes it really easy because that's pretty much what the lasagna noodles come in, the size of them. And then another layer of sauce, and then some bechamel. And then you're just going to keep building the layers like that. Now, this is a dish that you can make ahead of time, and you can leave in the fridge for up to 2 days. It's actually better if you make it the day before. And I can leave it in the fridge however long I want. I've never done more than 2 days, to be honest with you. I don't know if it would keep like that. I wouldn't do it because there's ground beef, even though it's cooked. But I think 2 days is probably your maximum. And then bake it off before you need it. And you can make multiples of these if you want to feed a crowd for very little money. This recipe can be doubled, it can be tripled, and it's delicious. It's really easy to make. And if you let the lasagna cool at the end, you can cut it really well. So that's another thing to remember. You build the layers, and you can see that the noodles are really well cooked, and they just spend 15 to 20 minutes in that boiling water. So I'm just using up all of the ingredients and smoothing them over with my spatula there. And it's really easy to use. I try to leave quite a bit for the top because I want to make sure that the top is covered well. So this is my last layer. I'm doing an extra layer there of noodles and covering it really well. And then I'm adding all of the sauce to the top. And then the last layer is going to be the Parmesan. You can see that I've used up all of the meat sauce there. And then on top of that is going to be the bechamel. And it's going to be delicious. And it's such a good sauce. It's such an easy one to make because you have a little bit of the meat sauce inside the bechamel, which seasons it beautifully. And it's a great way to make it more interesting. It's not just a white sauce. It's a white sauce with something else in it. And so I'm just smoothing it over there. And then I cover the top with mozzarella cheese. I just have the regular shredded mozzarella. Sometimes I shred my own. On this day I did not. But you can just use regular shredded mozzarella. And this goes into a 350 oven. Mine took about 35 minutes because my oven tends to run a little hot, and that's all the dishes that you have after you're done. And that's what it looks like after about 35 minutes in a 350-degree oven. And it looks beautiful. It's perfect for a family dinner. Like I said, you can make it ahead of time, leave it in the fridge, and bake it off at 350 before you need it. This is a beautiful recipe. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's so easy to make. It takes a little bit of time because you have to make 2 sauces and you have to put it together. But it's so worth it because it's so delicious. And I hope your family enjoys it. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button. Make sure that you come back for more videos. I post cooking, I post baking. Sometimes I post anything related to homemaking, like how to keep yourself on track and things like that. So it's very important that I keep telling you about these things because I think homemaking is an art that is dying. And if we don't do something, it's just going to go away because I think working women are here to stay, but there are many of us who want to stay at home and who want to make something of ourselves at home and be homemakers exclusively. So if you like this kind of content, then stick around. Check out my other videos. I have so much about baking. Thanks.